So here we are in the Arctic depths of Little Rock, Arkansas. I know. A lot of you folks have it a lot worse than we do here in Arkansas. It's pretty cold today, though. I just want to let you know. And quite frankly, the heating in my house is not really holding up to it very well. That's okay. We'll live with it. I wanted to do, again, a video today, and it is motivated by a podcast that was done by Dinesh D'Souza. I wanted to give him a, quote, shout out. I wanted to let him know that he inspired this in me. And I wanted to start by asking a question, and it's one that I'm going to answer, and it is, am I a nerd? And I'm going to tell you, in any traditional and real sense, most people would answer that with a hearty yes, including myself. I also wanted to ask another question. And that question is, are you a nerd? Are you one? Are you also a nerd? Having asked that question, let me get on with things. Hello, this is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is February the 14th of 2021, and it is a Sunday today. Welcome to everybody who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. And again, the subject today is Revenge of the Nerds. And again, I take this from the title of the old movie that I used to love and now really don't like very much at all, and also from a podcast by Dinesh D'Souza. And I wanted to bring a couple of things to bear here. First of all, I wanted to say something that I think is really, really important. And that is that being a nerd doesn't push someone towards bad acting or evil or anything of that sort as an adult. And I don't think Mr. D'Souza was trying to say that it did. I don't think he was trying to say that. I just want to make it clear that there are many of us with, quote, nerdish qualities who maybe we're not the best human beings in the world, and I'm not really trying to say we are, but we're nowhere like evil human beings in an attempt to control the universe with our nerdiness, right? I want to point out something that I think is sort of maybe something that a lot of older folks, including people like myself, wouldn't think about except for special circumstances in my case, right? And it is that a lot of people that you know as nerds are actually probably mildly autistic people. The interesting thing about it is when you think about the qualities that people use to talk about what it means to be a nerd, you'll see things like talks about things that other people thinks about and worries about things that other people don't care about, don't consider important, and so forth. This is, a fair part of the definition of being a nerd. Being socially awkward, talking about things that other people don't care about, and so forth, being obsessed with things that most people wouldn't waste their time on or consider important or whatever you want to say. These are things that are qualities of a, quote, nerd. Well, the thing of it is this. This is actually almost textbook, the definition that you're going to find for a large majority of those people who are considered mildly autistic. When they start stretching into the range of moderate autism and up to severe autism, then it's far less noticeable because there are other things that sort of drive people's perception. I don't know if I would be diagnosed mildly autistic if I were to be checked today, and I'm not even sure that they can do a good check because I'm over 50 years of age. But the thing is, I've become more and more convinced over the course of time that the chances are pretty good that I'm mildly autistic. And what that sort of means is that my brain is wired differently than other people. Now, I don't want to get too far down this garden path because there are other things to talk about, and I think those things are more important than this. But my point is to say that a lot of times what you consider a nerd is probably really more like moderately autistic than just a nerd. They're probably, you can still use the word nerd to describe those people. You can use it to describe me if you want to do so, and that's fine. And by the way, these days, I don't care. You want to describe me as a nerd, go ahead. I'm going to consider what I consider to be important. That's what I'm going to do. That's who I am. That doesn't mean that my perspective hasn't changed somewhat over the course of time, but nonetheless, here I am. Call me a nerd if that pleases you greatly. And by the way, I would make a bet. I would bet that Mr. D'Souza was considered somewhat a nerd when he was younger. And my attitude about that is, I hope he doesn't have a problem with that because I think it brings out some wonderful qualities in him that he might not have had it not been the case, had he not had those diverse interests that a lot of people just never really took on or cared about. That all having been said, what I'm really doing this video about is to talk about how being a nerd has affected or will affect people's lives, right? And I'm not going to try and deny that the tech tyrants who currently exist probably were all considered nerds when they were young. And that includes probably Steve Jobs, certainly Steve Wozniak. I would not be surprised to hear that Facebook's guy, Zuckerberg, I think that's his name, Mark Zuckerberg, and Twitter's main man were all considered nerds when they were young. None of this would surprise me. But I want to point something out, and it is that really, if anything sort of drove their behavior, it's probably more the sort of bullying aspect and the I'll get back at you kind of perspective on life. I guess what happened with a lot of us is we grew up. And when we grew up, we started to realize something. The fact that I have an interest in something or am sort of obsessed with things or, I'm socially awkward or whatever, I can make it so that those are less significant things in my life. Some people overachieved in that regard, but I believe that they decided that they were going to change the world. And I'm not sure that their motivations were necessarily bad when they did so. I think that what happens with a lot of people is they become confused in ideology, and that the nerd part of things does factor in, that the bullying part of things does factor in, but the real problem is that those people are confused in what they believe. That's the real problem as far as I can tell. The real problem is not that they are, quote, nerds. As I say, I think I would have been considered a nerd. In fact, I'm pretty certain of it as a kid. I got bullied a little bit as a kid, not maybe as bad as a lot of folks, but I did. I think probably a lot of people, including people like Mr. D'Souza, also were bullied as kids because they were sort of nerdish in their outlook. And again, if you look at those people today, well, I tend to relate to that kind of person better anyway, which is why I listen to his podcast, right? I tend to relate to those people better. But I do not relate to people who allow that to color their political ideologies and so forth and turn them into people who, when they deal with society, deal with them on a perspective of I'll show you. My job, nerd or not, is not to, quote, show you in anything other than an exemplary fashion. Who you see me to be is who I put myself out there as, and hopefully I'm putting myself out there as somebody who, when you look at me, you go, yeah, maybe he's not the best in the world, but he's at least trying to do things that are good things. And I'm here to tell you, I have no interest in silencing you. I have no interest in trying to build platforms to kick you off of, or kicking you off of successful platforms that I've already built. I don't have any interest in any of that. In fact, I said to somebody recently who I've been kind of in mild conversation with for some time, look, I really want people to speak their mind because it lets others know where they stand, and me as well, right? It helps me to know where they stand as well. But the thing is, those people who own the platforms that are currently wildly successful have figured out that they can use those platforms to regulate what people hear. And I am in complete agreement with people like Dan Bongino. I totally believe that what we need to do is provide alternate platforms, and I'm here to tell you I've been waiting patiently for Parler, and I will continue to do so for it to come back and to be seen. And I know that it will not probably get App Store stuff, but I got news for you. It doesn't matter to me, because before too long, if I have my way, I'm not going to be on Google, I'm not going to be on iOS, so app stores are not going to matter to me at all. That's going to be an inconvenience, and that's going to have to be okay. That all having been said, the real problem to me is how you deal with life. Lots of people are nerds. Lots of people have been bullied when they were younger. How you deal with life is the real problem. And my attitude is that those people who are currently acting in tech tyranny are dealing with life badly and have bad ideas about how things work. That's my perspective on things. All right, I need to wrap up, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Today, again, is Sunday, the 14th of February, what everybody likes to refer to as Valentine's Day of 2021. That means tomorrow will be Monday, the 15th of February of 2021. Obviously, tomorrow will be the start of most people's work weeks. Again, thank you for all of you folks who are working on the weekend. Know that people out there do appreciate you, even if we don't necessarily tell you so a lot. Thank you for being around. Thank you for those of you who are taking the time to listen to what I have to say, who are viewing me on Rumble and on YouTube, and who are listening to me on the podcast when I happen to get my stuff out. I hope that you're having a good day. If you're like me, maybe it's a cold one, but that's just life. And hopefully we will see you again. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Sunday, the 14th of February, 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.